sequence start. And we have a go for auto sequence start. Discovery's onboard computers have primary control of all the vehicle's critical functions. T-minus 17 seconds and counting. 15, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, start, 2, 1, booster ignition, and liftoff of the Space Shuttle Discovery, returning to the space station, paving the way for future missions beyond.
I could never be a vlogger. Hi, my name is May Shaw, and for my topic, I chose the 1986 Challenger Space Shuttle explosion. As most of y'all know, there were 7 people that unfortunately died, one of which was the commander of the shuttle, Dick Scobee. When Dick Scobee died, he left behind 2 children, Richard Scobee and Kathy Fulgham. Kathy at the time was only 25 years old. Well, today, I'm going to be interviewing her at the Challenger Center on UTC campus. Can you walk me through your day of January 28th, 1986?
Well, it's like a party when it's launch day. And, you know, the astronaut families rent condos and we stay on the beach and there's a big party for all your family and friends and everything. So it's a celebration. And so we had family staying in all the rooms around us and everything. And we got up very, very early. And we went, they drive you around on a bus everywhere, and we went to the building that's right next to the rocket assembly building, the real tall building with the American flag on it. There's a building right next to it that's shorter, and that's where the offices are. So that's where we watched the launch, not with the other people, but just, you know, the family.
How did that day impact your life?
It changed everything about my life because I was in college majoring in journalism, and after the accident I saw what bad journalists were like, and they followed us and they camped out in our yards, and it was terrible, and they asked such awful questions of us that you're not ready to talk about the death of your parent ever, really. And they were asking these questions, and I just thought, I could never ask the questions that they're asking. I don't think I'm tough enough to be a journalist, and so I went into public relations. So in a practical way, you know, it changed my life work-wise, but in other ways, you see the world differently, and you see your life differently, and you try to make sense of why things are the way they are, and why maybe he passed so young.
Did you expect that the weather would affect the liftoff?
We had been to Florida many, many times, you know, for Dad's training stuff and for other launches and everything, and it's Florida. There was ice on the launch pad. There was icicles hanging from the shuttle, and we all wondered if it was wise to launch.
How cold was it? Do you remember?
It was at least freezing, so it had to be, 30 or below. But it was very, very cold for Florida. It was January, but Florida usually doesn't get that cold.
How was the Challenger Center brought to life?
Well, after the accident, in fact, on the day of the accident, who was Vice President Bush came to see us in the astronaut quarters where the astronauts lived when they weren't, doing something technical for training or something like that. So all of us, the family members, were there, and Vice President Bush came, and my mom said, the families agree, we want the space program to go on. It's what our spouses would have wanted, or else their deaths will not mean anything. And he helped us start Challenger Center. He gave his own personal money to help, and he talked to the families about what they wanted to do, what Challenger Center could be. And because it was an education mission, and Krista McAuliffe was going to teach the first lessons from space, my mom is a teacher. She's taught everything from, kindergarten to graduate students. And so education was near and dear to her heart. And so all the families agreed that they wanted the Challenger Center experience to be a continuation of Chris's mission and my dad, of their mission, because education was part of it.
Where was the first Challenger Center?
They were called Challenger Learning Centers. It was in Houston, my hometown.
Really?
Yeah. And each of the learning centers are different from each other.
How does this one differ from another one?
Well, this one's on a university campus. One is at Telescope. I'm not getting the other. One is in San Antonio, where my dad and my mom met, and he started his Air Force career there. And that's really the state-of-the-art one. That's the most recent one. So it's in a planetarium.
Okay.
And so sometimes they're associated with colleges, or sometimes they're associated with, other things,
Yes. Why did you decide to put a Challenger Center here in Chattanooga?
We had a lot of support from the McKees, and, lots of people supported Challenger Center, and it's my mom's hometown. She could not live in a town where there wasn't a Challenger Learning Center.
That's that why you guys moved back here?
It's not why. My stepdad is from Tennessee.
Okay.
And so when he's a 3-star general, when he retired from the Army, they moved here. And then my family moved here. I got a job at the aquarium, so the aquarium's a lot of fun.
What do you think your dad's greatest achievement is?
I think it's miraculous that he was an airplane mechanic for the Air Force. Had a high school diploma, and probably never really thought about college, but he worked his way up with my mom's encouragement to go to, and the Air Force paid for him to go to community college and then to the University of Arizona, and that's how he started his career, because he got an aeronautical engineering degree. He got an aeronautical engineering degree, and it's just amazing to me, because my parents got married when they were 16 and 19, and they sort of raised each other and took turns. First my dad went to college, got his career started, then my mom went to college, and she worked up all the way to earning her PhD. So it's really interesting that these two teenagers raised each other and just came out of it. Brilliant people.
That's amazing. How many flights did your dad participate in as an astronaut for the Challenger?
He was just one. Yeah, he was the pilot on that one. There's commander and pilot, and then there's the rest of the crew.
I think you just got into this, but what was your dad's job before he was an astronaut?
He was a test pilot, and we were stationed at Edwards Air Force Base in the Mojave Desert. I spent many happy years there, where he was first a student test pilot, and then he became an instructor test pilot. So we were familiar with him having a risky job. And so we had a rule that we couldn't argue with him on the mornings that he had to fly. We had to all be on our best behavior, because we wanted him to think about that airplane and that mission, and not about, my curfew.
Did you ever want to follow in your dad's footsteps?
I was really interested in journalism and writing, but I feel like it's space travel is remarkable. And if any of my kids had wanted to be an astronaut, I would have encouraged it with all my heart. I encouraged anyone, because you can have a degree in anything and be an astronaut now. So, yeah. Did I answer your question?
About your favorite picture of your dad, your favorite professional picture. I showed her the picture with the duck.
How did you find that?
On your Facebook.
I was going to say nobody has that. My favorite picture of my dad is when he went to have his official astronaut picture taken. He must have been really serious that day or something, because the photographer was like, we got to get him to smile. And so they took this little stuffed duck and he didn't know, and they put it up in his space helmet. And I have a picture of him looking down at it and then posing for it. And that's, he flew stuff for us, a little American flight. He flew stuff for us on both flights.
What was your favorite memory with your dad?
My dad had a Starduster biplane, and this is what he did in his free time. And so he would take me up to, fly. I couldn't take off or land, but I could fly it. And we had such a great time just flying around the Gulf Coast and, near Galveston, and it was just so much fun to share that with him, because I knew how special flying was when I was with him up there.
It's amazing. How do you feel like you've grown as a person through all this?
The accident really helped me figure out what will be, and to put a lot of faith in God about that and have peace with it, instead of just struggling with the coulda, woulda, shoulda kind of things. I just look at the world differently, and if something happens, I compare it to what happened to him, and I'm like, I can get through anything if I can get through that. But my family has grown up in the shadow of the Challenger. While it's history to you, to them, this is their grandfather and their mom and their grandmother. So they're directly affected by it. So they've had a lot of opportunities to be part of celebrations at NASA, and it is a celebration of the lives of these astronauts. It's not sad anymore. Oh my gosh, I hope I did well enough.
You did.
You did perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Now it's just my job to edit it.
Yeah, you got it. I can tell you a story about Vice President Bush.
Please
Because my brother was home from the Air Force Academy, and he picked up the phone when it rang, and it was this man asking to speak to our mom, and she was getting terrible phone calls, and he was not just going to give the phone to her to talk to a stranger. And he said, well, who is this? Well, first of all, he answered the phone, Scobee's Bar and Grill. And later on he realized that maybe his Air Force career could be over. But the man on the other end of the phone said, well, it's the Vice President. And my brother said, the Vice President of what? And so Rich thought, well, I'll go give the phone to Mom and see what happens. And all the time he's going, Mom, is there any reason for the Vice President to be calling you? And she said, oh, yeah. We're just, carrying on a conversation about Challenger Center and everything. And he was like, well, he's on the phone, and my Air Force career is over. So President Bush has told that story to people in speeches before. And my brother, who is now a 3-star general in the Air Force, just sits there and blushes because, he was a teenager at that age. So funny.